everybody. Welcome to Breaking the Game with Monica. I am so excited, you guys. My first guest is going to be Meghan Doyle. Meghan, it was a 24-year assistant prosecutor. 10 of those years she worked in sex crimes. And we are going to be talking about Epstein, Diddy, and all things hot, y'all. So come on, can't wait for you all to join my show. Megan, welcome to Breaking the Game with Monica. I'm so excited to speak with you. Um, tell us a little bit about yourself. I'd love to hear more about what made you get into that aspect of law, because there's a big difference between being a prosecutor and being an attorney and working in other areas of criminal justice. What made you get into that?
So I am going to be very honest. I don't really know how to do it any other way. I wanted to be a trial lawyer. I
Ah,
wanted to try cases, be in a courtroom. Maybe on some level, I thought I should be on TV, and this was an easier route. I also wanted to be a mom. And I know that a trial lawyer and a mom doesn't go hand in hand. I know that you're not supposed to sacrifice, and people could criticize me for that. Being a prosecutor and working for the government allowed me to do that, because if my kids were sick, there were 52 other APs that could cover what I had to cover. Not necessarily a trial, but the regular day-to-day operations. When you're in private practice, you can't do that. I also, growing up, my dad was a lawyer. He started his career in the JAG court, then went to be a prosecutor, then went into private practice. And I wanted to kind of show him that I could do what he did. He did not stay as a prosecutor as long as I did, but it was something that he was very excited to share with me. So I think that influenced a little. Again, not the most feminist, politically correct thing to say that I did it because of my dad, but that's the truth.
so I have been fascinated by this whole Epstein trial and investigation. And for me, because I was involved with the Time's Up and the Me Too movement, Megan, I had clients that were involved in those investigations. So when this whole thing came about with Diddy, as well as when it came about with Epstein, I wanted to be able to really speak with a prosecutor to help the audience to understand, because I got flooded with emails and calls where everybody couldn't understand why some of the things that we witnessed during the Epstein trial actually happened. And one of the key questions that I have, that I hopefully that you'll be able to help me with, is why did he seem like that he received preferential or favorable treatment in regards to his stay in prison? I mean, he had private security and he had privileges that the average prisoner didn't receive. Tell me, why did that happen?
So part of, just so everyone has full disclosure, what I know about the trial, what I know, and it goes back to 2006, some of that was just curiosity, but I've never been involved with it. So what I have seen has only been what's been released to the public and what I
Right.
know from my experience. The time when he was in prison, which was, I believe, in 2007, when he got what they call the plea of the century. It's insane
Yeah.
what they negotiated. Which we can talk about, because it's, as a state prosecutor, especially like the time I spent in sex crimes, it I feel the DOJ labeled it a lapse in judgment. I feel like it was almost misconduct what went on and the way those victims were treated. But either way, and I don't know Florida law, so I'll make it analogous to New Jersey. He got I think it was an 18 or 13-year sentence. He got out in 13 months. It was over a year. In New Jersey, if you get sentenced to a year or more, you have to go to state prison. Somehow,
Yeah,
he stayed in the county jail.
he sure did.
And the work release for the county is normally approved regularly, but in his situation,
Yeah.
it was part of his plea. If you believe, I did not, the plea papers were closed, and I assume they were closed because at least 3 of his associates who got immunity based on his plea, which is insane,
Yep.
they were named in it. So I am assuming that is why those papers remained closed, or sealed would be the right term. So that work release was part of his plea. So the prison system, and in this case, I shouldn't say that. That's incorrect. It's the sheriff's department down there that runs their county jail.
Right.
The prosecutor would have had to have that agreement in place. Like, if we wanted in New Jersey, if I wanted a plea to be where, say, one of my clients was getting county jail and that I wanted him to be in the work release program, that agreement would have had to been with the sheriff, the warden, the prosecutor. Like, all of those people had, I can't imagine a situation where they were told that they had to do that, even though the sheriff's department and the prosecutor's office, they would be the same branch. But that's the part of it that, like, the special treatment part is, this was all agreed to for him to plead guilty to 2 charges opposed to the federal indictment. It's mind-boggling to me that happened. The private security part, in my opinion, and again, I am not directly related to it, I haven't seen the papers, I think the private security was a way to get that work release, because my understanding from what I've read and when it was happening is it was a sheriff's deputy that Epstein paid for.
Okay.
So my guess is that he agreed to pay the sheriff's department for the work release so they would stay with him for the 12 hours that he was out, 6 days a week. Like, I don't know what he had to do on a Saturday, because most people don't work 6 days a week, but that he agreed to pay that amount of money because the overtime would have been astronomical. And that's why they classified it as private security. But my guess is that was part of the plea. I know for a fact the work release was, but I can't, the private security, I believe, was sheriff's deputies that he paid for, which is not uncommon. I don't want to say it's common either, because there's not normally a lot of situations where people would be taking.
But you know what, Megan, that's one of the questions that I have for you as well, is what type of accountability measures have to be put in place regarding the way that whole investigation and case was handled? Because I've been in law enforcement for almost 30 years. I've never seen anything like that case in regards to the preferential treatment. What has to be put in place, or what has to change where the laws across the board are the same from state to state? Because it really did seem like there were some very unusual stipulations that were put in place in regards to his sentencing.
So, starting with that, the separation, like, the federal government and the state governments are separate, right? They're separate sovereigns, so you don't have double jeopardy. The fact that the U.S. attorneys agreed that they would not prosecute him on a 60-count sealed indictment when he pled to 2 counts, to me, is crazy.
I agree.
And you, because you know, a lot of times the FBI and the states, their investigations overlap, and there's a question of, and I won't say my opinion on it, there's a question of who's more equipped to deal with it. Any time in 25 years that I have had a case that the FBI has been involved in,
and I've had hundreds, and I'm sure you have too. Yeah.
And it's, where is the person going to get the hardest sentence? Where is the evidence going to be best preserved or presented, which is the easiest?
Right.
And then there's a decision. The state will normally give up their prosecution and send it to the FBI. Or on some cases, like with murder and guns, sometimes the sentences in, at least in New Jersey, would be worse. So they would stay with us. But that's normally the deciding factor. This case, you had crimes starting, you know this from Maxwell's trial, but you have crimes starting in like the early 2000s, before that, in Florida, in New York, and
Yep.
all of a sudden he's pleading to prostitution charges,
Yeah.
and nobody knows about it.
Yeah.
It happens pre-indictment, so the courts found that the victims didn't need to know. That, I think, as a prosecutor, as somebody who did sex crimes, is the most upsetting part to me.
Yeah.
Is how the victims were so displaced. You mentioned the P. Diddy trial. Like, I felt the victims in that were better represented than the victims in the Epstein case, because at least the prosecutors were fighting for them.
Yeah.
In this case, they were completely dismissed.
But you know what? I tell you what bothers me, and I want to know your opinion about this, is if Epstein was just a normal, average, everyday 9 to 5 guy, and Diddy was a normal, average, everyday 9 to 5 guy, would the outcomes have been different? Because it seems like what I don't understand, when you understand the legal definition of what trafficking is, in Diddy's case, how does a jury not find him guilty of trafficking when you saw clear coercion, solicitation, manipulation, intimidation? Those are 4 principles of the 8 principles of what trafficking falls under, and they didn't find him guilty of trafficking. I don't understand it. Was it because of celebrity? Was it because of celebrity, or is it because of a lack of awareness and knowledge where the public is concerned about what quote unquote trafficking really is?
So there's so many things about it.
know.
Like, it is completely overwhelming. I do think this. I think it's very hard for us, because especially from your vantage point, because I think you have a better vantage point as law enforcement than even I do as a prosecutor, in knowing somebody is guilty and me being able to prove it, right?
Right.
Like, that's a real thing. The
Right.
evidence that gets before that jury compared to what we know in our files is never the same.
Right.
I don't always have a problem with that, because I feel, and again, I don't normally deal with my job and emotion, but I feel those rules are there to protect everybody. So if
Right.
something is going to be suppressed, or something's deemed to be too prejudicial, that
Right.
it can't go in, I accept that. I accept that our judicial system might not be perfect. The problem, I think, with the internet and everything else is that you're seeing these pictures, you're seeing these videos, and as from our vantage point, we're like, how is this a not guilty? Like,
Right.
what? But you also have money involved. And
Absolutely.
when you said, I'm like writing notes down because I don't want to interrupt you, but when you said if Epstein and P. Diddy were just regular people, do you think the verdict would have been different? If Epstein and P. Diddy were regular people, none of it would have happened, because they wouldn't have had the power and the ability to manipulate so many people to do what they wanted.
Wow.
So, and like, again, I've not looked at their files, I have not looked at their cases, but I do not believe that they would have had the network of people lying for them and hiding things from them.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, like, the Epstein and the P. Diddy thing, the people's names associated with that, like,
Oh,
this
yeah.
is this billionaires club, right? Like, where I might, for your birthday, send you flowers. They're sending these people on trips, like, in their private jets. And it's a different world. And
Yeah.
they have created their own set of rules.
Yeah.
And
It is absolutely a different set of rules when you are in that club. It's a completely different set of rules.
yeah, and that part of it is, and I believe the juries, like, the jury nullification is such a real thing, because where you're supposed to go into that jury room and listen, we all have prejudice, we all have opinions, we all have these things that
Absolutely.
we live with every day.
Yep.
And we determine whether or not we believe somebody, whether we don't believe somebody. Like, you make a moral judgment on somebody. Should we? No, God should be the only one doing that, but we're human.
But you know what, Megan? This is what I don't understand. Why didn't more of Epstein's associates face criminal charges?
Because
I
of
mean,
that
come on
2000
now.
So this is one of the things that I don't understand. That 2006 plea that he took gave, if you take this plea, we won't go after your associates.
Right.
Now, that was a state plea that the U.S. attorney had to have signed off on, because if they didn't, there would be nothing stopping them. That plea does not bind them unless they became a party to it. I don't understand how that could happen.
Yeah.
But there had to be some type of agreement. That's why, like, so Maxwell's case right now is before the Supreme Court, I believe. I think it came back that she was not protected by that plea. My guess is that's why. Because there's something to me that does not make sense. How did a state plea bind the U.S. Attorney's Office? How did that happen?
So let me ask you a weird question. I don't want to put you on the spot, so if you have to plead the fifth, I understand.
Go ahead. Go ahead. That is probably my biggest downfall. I say whatever pops into my head.
But because we know that there was so much money involved, is there something in place to track collusion on high levels? Because I'm saying this because I've worked investigations where, and I'm not going to get into this, but money was secretly paid to different people for specific outcomes to take place. What is there some type of system put in place to be able to cross-reference and check that? Because I've seen, like I said, it's so many things with both of these cases that I just don't understand. It's just not logical. Based on our justice system, you can't make sense out of it.
Right. So, as they say, like, follow the money, then you'll find your answers.
Oh, did anybody follow the money, or they didn't follow the money, or they didn't want to follow the money?
So, in Epstein's case, there were associates, and that's what we'll call them, because, like I said, like, this millionaires club or billionaires club, whatever it is, they do business deals all the time.
Yep.
And they exchange, like I said, like, you and I, like, okay, we're going to do a business deal. Fine, here's $10,000. These amounts of money are hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Hundreds, girl, millions. What you talking
Yeah.
about?
Well, in some
Tens
of
of
them,
millions.
so, but though, those transactions don't necessarily mean that they're criminal, right? It's alarming. Here is
And
one
then
of
they
the
also have ways, they have loopholes, they have
money outside the
ways to be
country.
able to move money. I mean, come on now.
Yeah, no, agreed. The part of it, like, so as a prosecutor, you look at what happened in 2006. You cannot separate it from the incidents of the 2018 when he was in jail.
Right.
And you see the prosecutors arguing for witness tampering.
Right.
When he goes to bail, they don't charge him with it. They just argue it because of these monies that are exchanged. Now, I am looking at it and I'm like, why would he be giving them money when that immunity deal is there?
But wouldn't that be considered a conflict of interest, Megan?
What, for him to have business deals with associates?
Well, for him to be giving them money. Well, isn't that a conflict of interest? Even if it is for private security. I've never heard of that in my life.
So, see, but this is us guessing because we don't know, A, who the associates were. We know the timing of the money transfers, right? We know the timing of it. So, yes, I agree with you. But, again, this is like our different vantage point, you as a police officer, and knowing what you know and knowing what you've seen and what your job is to find probable cause and to follow the trail.
Well, private detective now, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Me as a prosecutor, I'm like, okay, red flag, but how else could that play out? Like, what else could that mean? And the money is being transferred. Again, I have not read the file. I have not talked to any of the lawyers involved. I would, like, at a glance, be like, Why would he pay them when we can't prosecute them because of that plea?
Okay, so I have an opinion, and I would love to hear yours as well. Um, those records will never, ever, ever be unsealed.
They will not.
Ever.
Nope, agreed.
The people within those records are on levels so high that it would literally collapse the economy and destroy the country. Period. Those records will never be unsealed.
They won't be. I agree. I don't think, but this is
Ever.
what they're going to hide behind. Why they're not going to be unsealed. So like Congress wants to have all of these hearings about it, who lied, who didn't lie. Like it's a waste of time.
It is.
It is
But to
absolutely.
me, it's just posturing, Megan. They
No,
have
it
to
is.
make
It's
it
because
look like they're going through the quote unquote procedures. It's bullshit. Those
it
records
is.
are never
You know
going
why?
to destroy this country.
It will, but you know why they're doing it? This is why they're doing it because like they should have done it in 2007, in 2008, in 2009. Like
Yep.
he in 2006 to 2008 when all of this stuff first happened, the Republicans were in place. It was George Bush was president. It was his US Attorney's office. Like then Obama comes in and this is still all going on. In January of 2008, the US attorneys, now again, I am doing this based on what the victims have said. I choose to believe them. I don't know why they would lie about it.
Right.
That the US attorneys were telling them we're still doing this investigation.
Right.
And nothing. So now all of a sudden it's become like this political thing because Trump got up and he made all of these promises. Now he's backpedaling. Now listen, do I think he has a motive to backpedal financially? Probably, but everybody knows they had a relationship and it ended 10 years ago. So
Right.
why did
Yeah.
it end? What happened? It's morbid curiosity in my opinion.
Yeah.
And some of it, like, it's so annoying because some of me, like, as a prosecutor, as a sex crimes prosecutor, I'm like, I want to know everything. Those victims deserve answers. As just like a regular defense attorney, a citizen, I'm like, just let it die. He's dead. So what? We can't prosecute him. To indict his associates now would be so incredibly difficult because the main conspirator is gone, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have her, who definitely, like that bullshit. Oh, sorry. Am I allowed?
No.
All right.
You
Like
said-
that bullshit interview she just did where they
Yeah.
gave her immunity and she's like, Clinton was never there. Like, I never saw Trump. I never did this. Like,
Yeah.
please don't tell me, like, this is trying to get, in my opinion, and I am not, like, I don't necessarily believe in the deep state or conspiracy theorists, but I feel like it is so fake and so orchestrated. It is infuriating to me.
Yes.
Like, we're not stupid human beings as a
Yeah.
population.
I agree. But I just think that we have a right to know because, again, as an American citizen and a consumer, if there are levels within this country, whether it's political, entrepreneurs, whatever capacity, that were involved in this, because I do human trafficking recoveries. I've been involved with human trafficking for years. So for me, it's a hot button issue. I've done over 50 and I've recovered well over 5,000 men, women, and children in these almost 15 years that I've been doing this. So for me, it's a hot button issue. And I think you may not know this, but I have two girlfriends, one black, one white, that were kidnapped into human trafficking. And what I had to go through to find both of them, and I did, I found both of them, but what they went through, one of them was forced to have sex with anywhere between 10 to 15 men a day until I found her. You can't wrap your brain around that.
No.
You can't wrap your brain around that. So when you understand that it's so many different areas of trafficking, people just think of sex trafficking, but it's labor trafficking, organ trafficking, sex trafficking, debt bondage, child soldiers, forced marriages. It's so many different areas of trafficking, it's not even funny. So when you understand that, and you realize that it is the fastest growing criminal enterprise in the world. It is the fastest, the biggest, the largest, and you would be shocked at the people that are involved with sex trafficking. that are having sex with children, with men and women. So if I'm just making up something, but if somebody who I admire and they're in a huge political position and this person is involved with sex trafficking and they on that list, we have a right to know that. We
Right.
have a right to know that. And that's what disturbs me, because that's why I said that list will never come out.
So, and that,
Ever.
and so that, to my point with Maxwell, she's saying the list doesn't exist.
That,
Bonnie's,
that,
Bonnie's saying the list doesn't exist now.
that.
And I think this, I think to your point, when I was in sex crimes, not to like be like, oh, let me tell another story about me. But my dad said to me, I had my first trial and I was so full of piss and vinegar and I was ready to go and I was ready like this. It was a dad and a child, like their child. And my dad called and he's like, do you have your opening? And I read it and he said, you're going to lose. I was like,
Wow.
now I, first of all, like any trial lawyer, and if they tell you something different, they're egomaniacs. We all are. We
Yeah.
like to win. We're very type A. And I said to him, super insulted, why? And he said, because nobody is going, as soon as you call that jury up, they're going to be looking for reasons to acquit him because nobody wants to believe a
Yes.
father looks at their child and
In a
thinks,
sexual manner.
fair.
Very true. Very true.
So
That's true.
this human trafficking thing,
Yeah.
I think it's the same thing. I think that people don't appreciate. So where we live in Long Branch, the labor human trafficking is insane. They're bringing people in from normally Spanish speaking countries.
Yep.
And I'm not going into like which ones or anything
Yep.
because I'll insult somebody or I'll be canceled, whatever. And then they're
Can't be
bringing,
worried about being canceled, Megan.
no,
Who gives a
so
shit?
they
I don't
bring
care
them
whether they
in.
cancel me or not. I have to
Fair.
live and walk in my truth, period. But
So
go
you know
ahead.
what they do? They bring them in. They collect their paychecks.
Yep.
They say you have to pay the rent. It costs us $15,000 to get you here. $15,000 to what? Push them over in a raft across the
Yep.
border? Please
Yep.
shut up. And then that's it. And they're afraid. They're afraid to say anything. When people start complaining about it, no one's opening their mouth. This was one of like the most insulting things that not insulting, that I wasn't insulted, but it took me days to get over it. I had two people come see me about their visas,
Okay.
and they had gone through a lot of the paperwork. They had been married for 18 years. The wife is American. He's not. He apparently has been in and out of the country twice, whatever, pays his taxes, has 4 kids here. And he came to me and I'm like, listen, I don't do immigration law. Like, I have no idea anything about it.
Sure.
They wanted to charge him $15,000 and these people are paying it. And that's what like the trafficking, not just the sex stuff, this work stuff is the people who are bringing them
Labor
here.
trafficking is huge. It's huge.
And they're charging $15,000, promising they're going to be citizens.
It's
like,
huge.
have you lost your mind?
It's so big here in Georgia, it's not even funny. And I hate to say it, and I don't want everybody to
heartbreaking.
think I'm not accusing of, but it happens a lot, especially within the agricultural and the meat and the poultry industry, where you have all of these immigrants that are coming here, and the traffickers are promising them driver's license, passports, housing, jobs.
Green cards.
They don't realize that there's a cost to all of that. They throw 50 of them in a room and then they say, you got to work this amount of money off. So these poor people are working on these jobs. Well, the companies are saving millions, tens of millions of dollars. They're not paying somebody $20 an hour to pluck a chicken. And they've got this immigrant here plucking a chicken for $7 an hour. Are you kidding me? By
No,
the
it's
time
awful.
you add up all that money, it is tens of millions of dollars, and it is happening all over the fucking country, everywhere.
And
Everywhere.
and people don't want to accept it
I
because
know that.
this is not like, listen, I have 2 kids. One of them's in law school. One of them's going to be a teacher.
Wow.
They're not plucking chickens. Like, they're not going out and cutting people's lawns and doing all of this stuff. people turn a blind eye to it because it doesn't impact their inner circle.
Yeah.
And the
Women.
stuff that impacts it, they don't want to face. Like
Yep.
the P. Diddy thing, the people associated with it. Like it's hard to see what's real and what's real. Like AI has like completely
Yeah. Yeah.
ruined your
Yeah.
ability to trust anything you see on the
Yeah.
internet. People don't want to believe that sex trafficking happens.
Yeah.
They
It
don't.
does.
It's
Okay,
easier to
and I
turn a
will share
blind
this
eye.
with you. It's a completely off topic, but I just got finished working in an investigation that started here in Georgia and it went to Florida. There is a religious organization that was fronting as a church. It was not a church. It was a trafficking organization. And you know what? They weren't doing sex trafficking and labor trafficking. They were into forced marriages. They were soliciting women and forcing them to marry people in other countries for large amounts of money to be able to be wet nurses, so birthing babies for people in other countries that didn't want to have a baby. Well, you got somebody paying you 20, 30, 50, $100,000 to go and force you to have a baby in another country. Are you kidding me? And it was a religious organization, a church. And one of the girls escaped, got in contact with her family. Her family contacted me. I started the investigation. I was able to get it to the FBI, and the FBI got involved in Florida. I mean, this shit is real. And people think that it's, like you said, they think it's not. No, this shit is real and it's happening. And
They think it's just on TV.
it ain't
Like
on damn
it
TV. This shit is
is crazy.
real.
It is crazy. The
I mean, you
Epstein
couldn't
stuff
make it
bothers me
up.
so much. The Epstein stuff bothers me more than I think like the P. Diddy stuff does for a lot of different reasons, but the Epstein stuff bothers me so much because I like to your point, I feel like it's I feel like the victims weren't represented.
They were not.
And that
They
I
were not.
think
And then the young lady that ended up committing suicide. I can't remember her first name, but I think it's DeFrey is her last name.
mhm,
I mean, she got trafficked when she was 14, 15 years old,
yeah,
and she ended up committing suicide. I mean, that broke my heart.
right.
That woman carried that much trauma and pain, went through all these years of going through this crap with the trials with Epstein, this, that, and the third. And I think she probably got to the point where she felt hopeless, because you have to get to a place of hopelessness when you choose to take your own life.
Right. And I feel like the thing about like the Time's Up movement, I have some like the way it ended, and I feel like that became a political thing where they were like, you can't speak about this, you can speak about this.
Right.
The Me Too movement, which has been around since
For a
2000,
long time. Yeah.
forever,
Yeah.
it got popularity because I think it was Alyssa Milano. Is that right? Right? She
Hmm.
was the first celebrity who went out and said, we need to support these women. A
Yeah.
lot of times they're very quiet because they're not supported.
Yeah.
They're
See,
judged.
that was the other question that I had for you too, is that why do you think that it took the Me Too movement and the Time's Up movement for so many women? I mean, that's one of the things that I have to be honest, I don't want people to misunderstand what I'm about to say, but I got upset with a lot of the women that when one or two were brave enough to come forward, then the floodgates opened up. Come on, y'all. We have a responsibility, because if somebody had come out early, Weinstein wouldn't have been able to do that shit that he had been doing for well over, and I had 6 clients that were involved in that whole mess. He had been sexually harassing and literally molesting these women for almost 20 damn years. And nobody said anything. And
Oh,
and it's not judging them, but it's like sometimes you have to be brave enough to break your own heart. You have to be brave enough to break your own heart. And if it means that you have to be okay with bringing the awareness, I don't give a damn how rich and powerful he was. He was abusing women for years. For years. And it took so long for women to feel comfortable to come out and say something. But the way I look at it is that, do you know how many lives maybe could have been changed or not damaged and abused and traumatized if they had felt? Is it our fault as a society that we don't make women feel comfortable to come out? You worked sex crimes. Is it our fault that we don't make women feel supported, that if they are being sexually harassed or they are being assaulted or molested or whatever, is it our fault that we don't, as a society, embrace them? Or is it fear and intimidation on their part? Because I don't understand why it took them so long to come out and tell the damn truth.
When you say their part, you mean the abuser.
Yes.
Okay. So I think that's twofold. So 20 years ago, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have all of these things.
True.
So if you're abused and it's your job, and that is your livelihood, and you're trying to make it, and this is it, and you think you're the only one, I feel that that is a very difficult thing to put on somebody, because you're almost like, why me? Like, what did I do? I did something wrong, because that is how society has treated women. Like,
Right.
so
Like, I will
that
share
part
something
started
with you.
to change. That part
I'll share
started to
something.
change for me too.
I got contacted by a huge multi-billion-dollar network, TV network. They called and they said, we want you to help us pull a campaign together. We want our employees to understand that sexual harassment will not be tolerated. This is exactly what I told the president and their compliance person, and they had all their attorneys there. And I flew to their corporate office. I said, look, if you're interested in posturing, you're doing the politically correct thing, don't waste my fucking time. And that's
Fair.
exactly what I said to them. I said, because if you're not committed to change, where you make every single last person go through the training that I will offer to help you all, you make every single last employee, I don't care if you got to bring interns in for the day, what the hell you got to do. Every single last person that works for your organization has to go through the training. After they've gone through the training, sign an affidavit saying that they are aware of the new company policy when it comes down to sexual harassment, and if they commit any of those offenses, they will be fired immediately. I said, if
Right.
you're not willing to do that, do not waste my damn time.
The most important thing you said from my perspective is the fucking consequences. They have
Absolutely.
to have consequences, and they
Absolutely.
don't. Like,
And
don't don't put on a show.
you know what ended up happening? Ask me, did they hire me?
No, because they wanted the show.
Because they wanted to do the PC shit. No,
Yeah.
you got to be serious about this.
Right.
Because, and I worked an undercover assignment for a billion-dollar corporation where they planted me. They had a guy in there, high ranking, very high ranking within the company, had a history of sexual harassment. They wouldn't fire him because he was so high up in the company. So finally, the owner contacted me. I went in undercover. Sure enough, here come old Chester the molester. He didn't realize I was in undercover. He thought I was just a new secretary that worked for the company. He sure did it. I mean, he came with it, touching, feeling, you so pretty, all this bullshit, walking up to me, touching me, telling me how pretty I was, and not my face, touching my damn breasts. Okay. So we were able to get rid of his ass. But what if you're not a company that can afford to bring somebody like me on?
Right.
All those women had been saying for years that he was doing it, and they wouldn't fire him. They wouldn't fire him. This shit happens every day all over the world. So what do we have to do? Well, we do believe women, and we take this shit more seriously, where there are consequences when people do what Epstein and Diddy and the rest of these son of a biscuits do.
Yeah.
There has to be consequences. It's that damn simple.
And what you said is like, how do they feel supported? How scary. So I'll share this, and it's not a secret. It's not something I know and really broadcast, but I have a restraining order against somebody. I had gotten divorced. I got in a relationship that was
Wow.
extremely abusive,
Wow.
and it was about 4 years. The first 2 were fine. The last 2 were horrific.
Oh.
I was so good at hiding it. I did it for a living. I was embarrassed.
Wow.
I was embarrassed. And what happened was I got called out. Like, so I was in major crimes. There was a call out. So that means there was a homicide. I needed to go. Um, and it was in the middle of a horrific fight. And when I say fight, like it was never two-sided.
Okay.
I answered the phone and I was hysterical. And he had
Wow.
locked me out of my house. Um, and the next day I got to work. Um, there were two detectives waiting for me outside, and they said, "Give
Wow.
me your phone." I said, "No, I'm fine." And they said, "We weren't asking. Like, here's your options. You can go get your restraining order,
Right.
or we'll go see him, and then you can quit and defend us when we murder him." Because we're not going, and I will never, ever forget. One of them said to me, "I am not going to your house to find you dead." So that's your options, Megan. And that
Wow.
moment changed me
Yeah.
because I realized
Yeah.
I had nothing, I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't need to feel guilty. I didn't make a mistake because, like, there was nothing on
But
my
Megan,
side.
let me
It's
stop you.
one
You're
person.
smart, you're beautiful, you're a prosecutor, you're an attorney. Help me and the audience and somebody who might be listening to this understand what was it that kept you in it
I didn't want to
and
be wrong. I
wow.
just got divorced. I wanted to say that he had a drinking problem. He really was a good person. And then was so embarrassed. I didn't want my kids to know. I had a daughter. I did not
Shame,
want her to think that. Like
shame.
all of these things. Now, listen, I am not equating what I went through to a sexual assault victim at
Sure.
all. It is
Yeah,
not the same. It is a horrible thing. But I feel like some of that shame
exactly. See,
and
that's the key word, Megan, and
yeah,
that's what I want you to make sure that you're really putting out there because that's what I find
yeah,
with a lot of the cases that I've worked at, it comes down to shame. And I'll tell you something else that it comes down to, which is why I'm such a proponent of helping women to find their self-esteem and building their self-esteem.
yes, that is
I mean,
it.
like, look, I know I'm a badass. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm a
Right.
badass. If you have a problem with it, I tell people all the time, I know I shine everywhere I go. You got a problem with it, go to Walmart, get you some sunglasses,
That's
okay?
right. I'm
But
going to use
we
that
have
line.
to help women to build their self-esteem because I find that that's what it is. It's shame and it's a lack of self-esteem.
Now, and my girlfriends and my friends and everyone else, like, they were like, how could this be you? Like,
You.
you you go in, you put people in jail, you're on TV, you do all of these things. Like, how could you think this is okay? And I said, I was
Wow.
embarrassed. I was
Yeah.
embarrassed because I was wrong about him. Then I got myself in a situation that I didn't want to share with anybody because I was like, somehow that makes me look like less of a person
No.
than I am.
No.
That that one conversation, and
Mhm.
it was over 10 years ago now. Like that one conversation, those one words was,
Yeah.
this is it. Like this is not your fault. Like, and I don't know why, like with the Epstein stuff, it took so long. I genuinely feel like it's because they had such a loyalty of people who needed money. And the
Yeah.
girls that were going in, right, when they were
Yeah.
doing massages and all of that, they were getting 500, 1,000, $300 at 14 years old. Like that's a lot of money. And
Yeah.
I don't I don't know if they necessarily realized how wrong it was, right? Like I had sexual assault victims like 12-year-olds were having sex with 26-year-olds. And they're like, we're just really have mature vaginas. I had a victim say that to me. I was like, sister, you
Are
have
you
no
serious?
idea. They
You
have
got
no
to be
idea.
kidding.
No, they are so desensitized because of the internet and because of what they see. She's like, these are our needs. You can't slut shame me if I want to have sex. I was like, so listen, so we're clear. This is why I think I was so good in sex crimes. I was like, listen, this is so we are clear. I am not slut shaming you. You do whatever you want with your body. He's 26. He doesn't get to do it with you.
It's against the law, sugar
That's it.
muffin.
I said, you get
Okay.
on the stand. I'd be like this. I'd be like, listen, sweet. You get on that stand and you tell that jury how great it felt. Like, I was like, there is no fucking way. Like, at 14 years old, I got my period and cried for 3 days. But whatever. You go to that jury. You tell them how much you love this. You tell them how great it was. And they did. And the juries were like, what the act? It's not a defense. I don't care. I think that a lot of these cases, because if you think about it, right? Like we're talking about Epstein. I can think of like 6 victims that I've seen on TV. There, and I don't know her name, and I'm so horrible. Like I feel so horrible about it. She's a very attractive older woman who was like, "I'm gonna come up with a list myself. Fuck you."
Yeah.
If the victims do that,
Yeah.
if the victims aren't silenced and they come out and do that,
Yeah.
good for them.
Yeah.
That is the only way because now they're saying there's no list. Like
That's
we're
some
never gonna
bullshit.
know. We're never gonna know. They
Megan,
released this phone book.
from a prosecutorial standpoint, what should we learn from Epstein and Diddy? What should we learn? What should be the takeaway? And what can we do from a criminal reform standpoint for things to get better?
Okay, so the one thing about the Diddy case that I will say impressed me is how he stayed in jail the entire time.
Yes.
Because with bail reform,
Yes.
his crimes would not necessarily be considered violent.
I agree.
And that's one of the things with Epstein's, like people are like, now normally pedophiles do not get work release. Non-violent criminals do, but if you're registered, you don't. People don't understand, like bail reform, an endangering charge, a sexual assault charge, it's not presumed you're staying in jail. The prosecutors have to fight for that. So
Yes.
that's problem one. Like bail reform, in New Jersey at least, and in New York, it's a little bit like this too. The only time you're presumed to stay in jail is if you're charged with murder.
Wow.
We have to fight otherwise. So
Wow.
now you're asking these victims. See, I have these flyaway hairs. This is why this video is not good. It should be a person. I wouldn't see them. These victims, you're asking them to come forward. They're probably deathly afraid because let's be honest, like sexual assault is not about sexual gratification for the most part. It's about power. It's about exerting
About power and control. Yeah,
Yep.
for sure. Yeah.
So you have somebody who has been abused, and now you're saying, come cooperate with us.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, I can't guarantee he's going to stay in jail.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's one problem.
Okay.
Like, I think.
Okay.
The other problem is this. What you were saying about like what's politically correct and like I can't like it makes me so angry. These victims' Bill of Rights are shit because the courts then get to manipulate them and be like, well, we only have to talk about them if it's indicted. And if it's
Right.
pre-indictment and there's secret deals, that's okay. Fuck you. The victims need to be represented and then they're represented. It's not, we don't pick and choose. Like,
Right.
they're not victims until it's indicted. Like, the indictment doesn't make them a victim.
Right.
The act does. And the act happens before they even come to the police station.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
You guys, so you're in Georgia, right?
Yes.
Do you guys have advocacy centers?
We do. We do.
but you
But
say it-
most of them, I mean, some of them are kind of, state sanctioned, but most of them are NGOs and private advocacy
Oh.
centers. Yeah.
So no, in New Jersey, there's this big push. They are normally predominantly for children.
Okay.
Oh, that was another thing about the Epstein thing. Like, I have like schizophrenia, but the part of that Epstein case that bothered me too is at some point they were like, unless they're under 16, we're not getting involved. Now in Florida, the age of consent is 18. In New Jersey, it's 16, but in Florida, it's 18. And that bothered me because I was like, what? So you've dismissed them then?
Yeah.
You're like, not a real victim. Because it's not like glamorous, like, not
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
So that bothered me too. Like, I feel like there should be some more consistency. And I know there won't be, but like there should be a little bit more consistency with that
Yeah.
type of behavior. And if there is going to be a plea, the victims don't have to approve it. There are often times that I sit down and I tell a victim, I get that you think they should get the death penalty. Totally understand. Feel like it's a fair reaction. It's illegal. We don't have it.
Right.
Right. They're charged with a third-degree crime in New Jersey, say. They can go to jail for 3 to 5 years. If they've never been in jail before or in trouble before, there's a presumption they're not going to jail at all. So that part of it, right? Like, there's nothing you can do about it. The
Right.
victims don't have to be happy about it either. They have to know about it. You
Right.
have to consult them with it. You have to tell them. Let them heal and be like, look, I've had millions of victims think I was wonderful. I've had millions of victims think that I like didn't care enough about their case to fight for it.
Sure. Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
only do what the law allows me to do, and my obligation to them is to make sure they know that. And I
You know
tell them,
what? I think, and I'm going to say this in closing. I think what's really important is that these two cases, the Diddy and the Epstein case, brought awareness about everything surrounding all areas of trafficking, not just sex trafficking, but um, just how it affects the world, not just the country, but the world and the ramifications of it. But also, too, I think it brought awareness when it comes down to justice reform. I mean, there's some changes got to happen, Megan. And
no,
because it's so different around the world, around the country, I can't speak of other countries, but around the United States of America, the laws are so different from state to state and even sometimes from city to city that we
yeah,
have to find a way where it really is across the board when it comes down to being able to prosecute these cases. Because I'm going to say this, and I know it's going to be controversial, but a lot of times I do tend to take my cases federal
yeah.
because I see they do the hand slap sometime when it's local, and I hate to say that, but I do because I want to make sure that these people are prosecuted to the biggest extent of the law, and that doesn't always happen when you're going local. But when you go federal, I'm telling you, 98% prosecutorial rate. They don't play.
No,
When
and
they
that is
they don't play. When they bring charges, your ass is going down. Can't
right.
say that a lot of times when you're dealing with local, and it's a problem.
So it is, but understand this though. The federal government, their crimes on human trafficking are much harsher than the
Yeah,
states.
yeah,
They're, they also have more resources to
yeah.
prosecute them than a
True,
local prosecutor's office.
true.
Like we have these like little groups and like a liaison and everything else. They have no training like they do
Hmm.
with the federal government because
Right.
remember, and you would, they go across state lines, they go to
Yep.
other countries.
Yep.
The prosecutors don't have, and I'm talking about state prosecutors,
Hmm.
they don't have those resources.
Yeah.
And when you have a case, so you sit like, and I hate to say this, but
Hmm.
it is like justice is bought.
Hmm.
Like if you have the money and you bring
Yep.
in 5 lawyers and you have one prosecutor with maybe one detective,
Yep.
you cannot, no matter how good you are, you cannot see everything they see.
Absolutely.
And you look at this jury, and the juries get intimidated by it too. Like, I gave a shit. I did not care who came into that courtroom. It was my courtroom, and you
Right.
visited.
Yeah. So
But
Megan, if I wanted to share with my audience, if anybody wants to get in contact with you, because you are private now as an
yes, I
attorney,
am.
correct? Share
Yep.
your information if you've got a website or if you want to share with anybody who may have some questions or may want to contact you.
I can give my email is DOYLE, the number one, LAW at gmail.com.
Awesome.
Says is they're trying to figure out a way to make it easier.
Mhm.
I feel like every administration says that, and
Yeah,
we still have an immigration problem, so none of them have fucking done it. So you say what you want, but they're not helping.
I know.
Um, but I think that is one of the problems when you look at human trafficking and you look at any aspect of it.
Hmm.
They're not necessarily all, the majority of them aren't US citizens.
Yes,
People
exactly.
are,
Yeah,
and it's on both sides.
yeah.
So this is not a right wing, left
Mhm.
wing, like this is
Absolutely.
not Democratic, Republican. It's on both
Yep,
sides.
that's true.
They're
That's
not
true.
citizens.
Very true. That's
And
true.
that is until we can get them to understand like it's a
Mhm.
human decency thing and it's a
It is.
human you nothing's going to change, and that these conversations are difficult conversations.
Well, my
People have
hope is that having people like you on and some of the other guests that we've got that's going to be coming on. We're going to be talking about everything. I mean, every aspect of current affairs, cancel culture, crime, specifically a lot of crime because there's so damn much going on in the world. But I just think knowledge is power. And I think a lot of times for people to be able to look at things or have a different perspective really does help them. And I'm hoping that that's what Breaking the Game will do and having guests like you on will do, is to just create a dialogue where people can really become more aware because you can't change what you're not aware of.